I'm Omar Kenyatta Clark, an advocate, overcomer, and hope speaker who's faced life's hardest challenges head on. On this podcast, I bring you honest conversations, real stories, and practical wisdom to help you heal, grow, and rise stronger than ever. This is Voices of Hope, where we turn struggle into strength, pain into purpose, and isolation into connection. If you're ready to break free from what's holding you back, achieve true success, and become the best version of yourself, get ready for a journey like no other. Let's ride. Welcome. I'm Omar Kenyatta Clark, and this is Voices of Hope. This is the Season 1 finale. Today, I invite you not just to listen, but to step into the flames with me, to confront the fire that forges us, to feel its heat and recognize the transformation it brings. This episode isn't just a reflection. It's a call to embrace the trials that have burned away what no longer serves us, revealing purpose in the ashes. Before we go any further, I want you to pause, take a breath, look back on your life and ask yourself with honesty, what has God done for you? Not just in moments of triumph, but in the furnace of your hardest nights, when the fire threatened to consume you. What embers of hope did you carry through the smoke and darkness? When I look back on the breakdowns, the silent battles, and the nights I felt scorched by pain, I see more than suffering. I see a refining fire, a presence that stood with me in the heat and shaped me into something stronger. In those moments, God was there, turning wounds into wisdom and pain into purpose. So now, echoing the words of a great leader, I urge you not to ask not only what has God done for me, but instead, what can I do for God? Just as President Kennedy challenged a generation to serve their nation, I challenge you. What will you do now that you've walked through the fire and survived? What will you give back? Not to earn redemption, but because the flame within you demands you to light the way for others. I won't pretend the heat isn't real. Sometimes the place meant to heal us wound us further. Sometimes the world offers cold comfort. But even then, even as flames lick at our heels, there is a way forward, a whisper through the blaze, a hand extended in the smoke, a spirit that refuses to let us be reduced to ashes. So if you're ready to feel the blaze of honest truth, if you're ready to fan your own flame and become a beacon for others, then this episode is yours. Get ready for the heat, because today we step into the fire together. Stay with me all the way through, and let's see what rises from these flames. Let me be real with you. Sometimes God calls us to step out of the fire, not just warmed, but transformed. But what does that actually look like? See, there were seasons in my life where the flame inside me felt snuffed out, when disappointment and rejection whispered that my dreams were dead. I remember the pain of being turned away from every externship in my doctoral program. I was devastated. I had invested years into becoming a psychologist, and suddenly I felt like everything I worked for was slipping away. It wasn't just the loss of an opportunity. It was the loss of identity, of purpose, of hope. Life felt hollow, joyless. That's when the darkness crept in. When I started to believe maybe I had nothing left to give and nowhere to go. But in my lowest moment, when I truly thought my story was over, I cried out to God, not with fancy words or rehearsed prayers, but with raw desperation. And God responded, not by handing me back my old dream, but by opening my eyes to something new. He showed me that my worth wasn't tied to a title or a degree, but to who I was becoming through the fire. Through peer support, I discovered the beauty of walking alongside others as equals, of being vulnerable, of sharing stories, not as experts, but as fellow travelers. It didn't make sense to anyone, not even to me sometimes, to step away from a path I spent so long building. But the Spirit was leading me somewhere deeper, somewhere truer to who I am. And isn't that just like the journey of faith? Even Jesus, after his baptism, was led by the Spirit into the wilderness, a place of testing, of hunger, of wrestling with doubt and temptation. The wilderness wasn't a punishment. It was a proving ground, a space where trust was forged in fire and identity revealed through trial. Leaving that program was a leap of faith. It was a surrender. And even then, there were moments when hope slipped through my fingers. Times when I was sure I'd lost my way again. But I've learned that God never wastes our pain. The fire doesn't come to consume us. It comes to refine us. What felt like the end was actually the beginning of something more beautiful, more honest, more aligned with the person I'm called to be. And maybe that's you too. Maybe you know what it's like to stand in the ashes of what you thought your life would be, wondering if anything good can grow there. But friends, I'm here to remind you, the fire isn't the end of your story. It's where the transformation happens. It's where God does his deepest work. And that brings me to a story, a parable, that shaped the way I see my own journey through suffering and transformation. Imagine a silversmith searching for something precious buried inside the rough and ordinary. A silversmith goes out looking for silver ore. Now, to the untrained eye, it's just a rock, covered in dirt, rough, easy to toss aside. But the silversmith knows better. He sees past the dirt. He sees the potential. He takes that ore back to his workshop, cleans it, places it in a crucible, a container that can withstand intense heat, and sets it in the fire. As the silver melts, the impurities rise to the top. The silversmith scrapes them away, looks in. If the silver still looks dull, it goes back in the fire. And he does this again and again until he sees his reflection. Friend, wear that silver. The crucible is God's hand holding us through the fire. The fire is life, trauma, illness, betrayal, depression, loss. And God is the patient silversmith, never leaving our side, always drawing out what is true and beautiful beneath the scars. He isn't trying to destroy us. He's refining us, gently removing everything in us that isn't love, isn't hope, isn't of him. He's looking for his own reflection in our hearts, longing for others to look at us and even through our cracks and imperfection, see traces of Christ shining through. Let's be honest. There are too many who wear the name Christian and miss the heart of Jesus. Some become gatekeepers or judges, reflecting only pride or coldness. But that's not what we're called to. If we claim Christ, the world should see Christ in us, especially those also who call themselves Christians. They should see kindness where there could be condemnation, compassion where there could be judgment, and a love that refuses to give up on anyone, including ourselves. We're called to something higher, a love that draws its strength from Christ himself. As followers of Jesus, we are invited not just to bear his name, but to embody his heart, loving our neighbors, serving one another, and offering mercy in the midst of trial. Christ did not stand apart from suffering. He entered the fire fully, misunderstood, betrayed, and wounded, transforming pain into redemption through his sacrificial love. It's in these crucibles of adversity that the wisdom of others echoes the truth of Christ's pain. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who endured the ravages of the Holocaust, observed a profound resilience among those who found purpose in their suffering. He wrote, "In some way, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning, such as the meaning of sacrifice." Frankl's insight mirrors the very life of Christ, whose suffering was not meaningless, but purposeful, infused with the hope of resurrection and the promise of restoration. This is the hope we cling to, that through Christ, the flames refine us rather than consume us. We emerge from the fire not empty-handed, but carrying compassion that is deeper, wisdom that is tested, and love that has been shaped by grace. And just as he did, we go back for others, becoming evidence of hope, walking into the smoke to lead someone else into the light, our lives reflecting the living Christ within us. This reminds me of one of the most powerful stories in Scripture, the story of Joseph. Joseph was a dreamer. At a young age, he had visions of greatness, visions that even his own brothers couldn't handle. Out of jealousy, they betrayed him. They threw him into a pit, sold him into slavery, and lied to their father, saying Joseph was dead. But Joseph wasn't dead. He was in process. He was sold into Potiphar's house, then falsely accused and thrown into prison for something he didn't do. For years, Joseph was misunderstood, abandoned, forgotten, but God never left him. And through every betrayal, every delay, every dungeon, God was refining Joseph, preparing him, training him, positioning him for a divine purpose. Years later, Joseph rose to become second in command in all of Egypt. During a devastating famine, he was put in charge of storing food and saving lives. And one day, the very same brothers who betrayed him showed up, desperate, hungry, and broken. Joseph had every right to take revenge, but instead, he forgave them. He looked them in the eye and said these words, "What you meant for evil, God meant for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." This isn't just about enduring hardship. This is about a redemptive survival, where even our deepest wounds become places of resurrection. Joseph's pain did not disqualify him. It became the very soil which his purpose took root. The anguish he endured became the river that carried hope to others in their own famine. He didn't merely survive. He became a vessel of restoration, turning suffering into sustenance for those who once called him stranger, even enemy. I want you to hear this. Your survival is not just for you. Every time you choose to keep going, every time you emerge from your own valley, changed and wiser, you become the breath that revives another weary soul. You become living proof that hope is not theoretical. It's flesh and bone, scars and faith, breathing in the world through your story. Your journey is sacred. What you've walked through matters. And just like Joseph, though you may not see the full picture yet, trust this. God is always preparing you for a purpose that ripples far beyond what you can imagine. That's what happened to me. God took everything I walked through and wove it into a purpose bigger than I could have imagined. I don't regret any of it. Every challenge shaped me, refined me, and prepared me to serve in ways I never would have thought possible. Without those fires, this podcast wouldn't exist. And neither would the compassion and the calling that fuel it. That's real power in our stories. Scripture reminds us that we overcome not only by the grace we receive, but by the words of our testimony. I know how hard it can be to share, especially when the subject is raw or carries so much weight. But when we give voice to our journey, healing happens, not just for others, but for ourselves as well. In fact, one therapeutic approach to trauma is retelling your story through the lens of your own resilience, focusing on what you survived, how you grew, and the strength you found along the way. You are living proof that survival is possible. Courage isn't just about getting through the pain. It's choosing to face it again, to tell your story for the sake of someone who needs hope. That's what I strive to do every day as a peer specialist. Turn my pain into encouragement for someone else. Because sharing isn't about shocking people with what you've endured. It's about showing what's possible on the other side. If you ever want to learn how to share your story in a way that brings healing, both for you and for others, reach out to me. I'd be honored to hear from you at Omar Kenyatta Clark at gmail.com. You never know whose life your story might impact, simply by offering it with honesty and hope. I know what it's like to wish there was someone who understood, someone to point the way forward. Now together, we can be that for each other, breaking the silence, challenging the stigma. It isn't easy. Even someone who was in a position of power at my clinical psychology doctoral program who confided in me was afraid to share their story due to the stigma surrounding mental illness. But every time someone in a place of influence takes a risk and shares their own struggles, it opens the door for more healing. Vulnerability is contagious, and together we can build a community where no one has to hide their scars. So as we look ahead to season 2, there's something you need to know. I'm still in recovery, and I'm walking this road right alongside you. This isn't a past tense thing. This is life. Recovery from a chronic illness is a lifelong journey with ups and downs, highs and lows, and seasons where the fire still burns, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce. And I'm walking it right alongside you. So in season 2, Voices of Hope isn't just my voice anymore. I'll be inviting guests, people with stories, with scars, with healing. Each of us carrying the light and the warmth that only comes from walking through the fire. Because it's time to hear more voices of hope. And I'll still be asking the hard questions about mental health, about spirituality, about the personal life challenges we're often too afraid to talk about. And of course, how we pursue not just any success, but good success. The kind that fulfills the soul, not just the ego. I'll still be walking with you through the fire, and we won't be consumed. We'll be refined. What do we do with all this? Our scars, our survival, the journey that's brought us to this moment? We become the spark. We choose to be the fire that lights the way for others. When I look at what I've been through, I see the chance to turn pain into purpose, to let the heat of my struggles forge something meaningful. Here's the truth. We aren't meant to stay silent or hide away. Like a lamp that's set out for everyone to see, our lives are meant to bring warmth and hope to the world around us. Jesus called us to let our light shine, not for our own sake, but so others might be encouraged and inspired. So, as we continue, let's remember we're here to make a difference, to reach out and to fill the spaces around us with light and kindness. Maybe you worry you're not ready, that you're still healing, still searching for answers, but you don't need to be fully healed to help someone else. You just need to step forward with courage. Even a small spark can start a powerful fire. When you're in a tough place, when you're still in the fire yourself, focus on healing. But when you feel a little bit stronger, that's your time to step up. Reach out, even in small ways. A kind word, a listening ear, or a helping hand can be exactly what someone else needs to get through their day. When you reach out to lift another, you find your own burdens lightened. Acts of kindness draw us out of ourselves, away from isolation and self-pity, and remind us that even the smallest gesture can illuminate someone else's darkness. There's a quiet power in encouragement, a deep satisfaction in knowing you've become part of another's hope. You don't need a big stage or fancy titles. What matters most is your willingness to show up and share your light. You never know how your story might be the flame that helps someone else find their own strength. Someone out there is waiting for the hope you've discovered through your own fires. Not your perfection, but your progress. Not your certainty, but your honesty and courage. By being real, by sharing even when it's hard, you create connection and inspire others to keep going. Ask yourself, what strength is this fire building in me? How can I use what I've survived to lift someone else up? Who might need a little light right now? You are being shaped, refined, and made stronger by everything you've faced. Every struggle has the power to ignite courage, not just in you, but in everyone you reach. Don't be afraid of the fire. Walk through it and invite others to walk with you. Be the voice that says, "You're not alone. We'll get through this together." This is how we rise as a community. This is how we change lives, by using our stories, our courage, and our compassion to build something lasting. Season 2 is more than a podcast. It's a movement, a chance to connect, to share, to light a fire that spreads hope and courage. I invite you to join in. Share your experiences, your lessons, your light. Let's be the difference together. So if you have a story, a testimony, or just a heart that burns with hope, email me at omarkenyattaclark@gmail.com. Let's put your voice behind this mic. And as we close this first season, I want to speak this over you. May your scars become sacred. May your wounds become wisdom. May your pain become power. And may your voice, yes, your voice, become a beacon for those still searching for light in the darkness. You are more than what you've endured. Every trial has tempered you. Every heartbreak has softened you. And every step through the fire has shaped a strength within you that cannot be stolen. We do not simply survive the fire. Together, we walk through it, hands clasped tight, hope burning brighter than fear. We are not consumed. We are refined, transformed into vessels capable of carrying hope to others. We are the silver, tested and purified. The silversmith sees their own reflection shining back clear and true. So I walk forward with courage. Speak your truth with boldness. Serve with humility. And never forget, you are a voice of hope. The world needs your story. It needs your compassion, your honesty, your unbreakable light. Wherever you are in your journey, know this: you are not alone. Together, We are building a legacy of healing, a movement fueled by the courage to share, the strength to rise, and the unwavering belief that even the smallest spark can ignite a revolution of hope. Carry that spark, be that hope, and let your story become the lighthouse that leads others home. Let's turn cold hearts warm together. Thank you for joining me today. If this episode spoke to your heart, share it with someone who needs encouragement, healing, or a reminder that they're not alone. You can follow me on Facebook at Omar Kenyatta Clark or Instagram and YouTube at omar.kenyatta for more inspiration, updates on the Omega Principles, and behind the scenes from this journey. Remember, true success isn't just about what you achieve, it's about who you become. So keep rising, keep healing, and above all, keep walking with purpose. I'm Omar Kenyatta Clark, and this is just the beginning. Until next time, let's rise.